Miau und willkommen zurück zu Let's Play Shinrai Broken Beyond Despair. Und wir haben jetzt gerade das Zimmer aufgeschlossen, was jetzt plötzlich abgeschlossen war, weil scheinbar irgendjemand den Schlüssel hatte oder so. Oder weil er das Poster einfach woanders hingehängt hat. It worked. With all hesitation gone now, Rie grabbed the handle and pushed the door into the room. Finden wir jetzt Hiros Leiche da wieder? Oder ist das ein komplett anderer Raum? So wie ich es mir schon gedacht habe. What the... Jemand hat einfach das Poster umgeschoben. Hat das Poster woanders hingehängt. Und das ist eigentlich die Tür daneben oder so, wo das passiert ist. Und deswegen war, glaube ich, auch die Leiche von Momoko nicht mehr da. Weil das schon mal so der Trick gemacht wurde. What the... Nothing. There was absolutely nothing. No trace of either Hiro's nor Momoko's corpse. Not even a tiny speck of blood on the floor. Even the window was closed. And not just that. As I went over to check it, I had to realize that it was locked. But how? How could this be? Ihr seid in der falschen Tür. It was almost as though nothing had ever happened inside here. Da ist wahrscheinlich auch nichts passiert, weil es der falsche Raum ist. How? Ain't this the right room? Richtig. It should be the one with the Halloween sign. Dieses Halloween sign, was man ganz leicht von der Tür abmachen und woanders dran kleben kann, ne? Das ist natürlich der Beweis dafür, dass es die richtige Tür ist. That was the one we opened earlier, remember? So it's gotta be this room. But where to check? Where the heck's Hero then? And Momoko? You're telling me their bodies just vanished? Nein. No, that was ridiculous. A corpse couldn't just disappear into thin air like that. Let alone two. Ich hab den Fall doch schon längst gelöst. And there wouldn't have been enough time for anyone to carry them away or hide them here either. Especially not without leaving any traces. Detektiv Neko hat den Fall doch schon gelöst. Ihr braucht gar nicht weiter diskutieren. There had to be some other explanation for this. Da ist auch eine andere Explanation dafür. Eine ganz simple. I had to check something. I moved back into the hallway and walked over to the guest room left of the one we had just entered. I grabbed the door handle, but... Könnt ihr den nicht auch aufschließen? No dice. I couldn't push it open. I turned around and tried the guest room on the right, but once again... didn't work. Aber wir wissen ja schon, dass da jemand ist, der Türen abschließen kann. Allein weil der Breaker Room zu ist, wissen wir das. Also. Was hält dich denn jetzt davon ab, den Schlüssel zu nehmen und das zu öffnen? Vielleicht ist er auch nicht nur eine Tür weitergegangen. Ja. Room 211. That was the one Rie had unlocked. The one with the Halloween sign on it. Both guest rooms adjacent to it, numbers 209 and 213, were locked. This was impossible, however. I hadn't paid any attention to the room numbers before, but I was absolutely certain that the room which we had found Momoko was on this side of the corridor. Ja, vielleicht war es ja noch ein weiter. And it had to be one of these three. So one of them should have been open the whole time. You know, I have absolutely no clue what the hell's going on anymore. Ja, aber der Breaker Room war auch zu. Das heißt, irgendjemand hat einen Schlüssel oder sowas. Or what the heck we're supposed to do? But I can tell you one thing. I'm getting pretty damn scared now. And I'm really starting to believe there's a ghost behind all of this. I mean, the stuff that's going on here, there's no way any of it could be explained otherwise, right? No. That's what I've been telling you the whole friggin' time. And I'm still telling you that's nonsense. Then I hope you actually have an explanation for this. And it better be something other than the three of us hallucinating what happened here. Nein. Wir wissen, dass jemand die Türen abschließen kann. Das heißt, wahrscheinlich hat jemand das Poster von der Tür abgenommen, wo wir zuerst drin waren, und hat es an eine andere Tür gehängt. Und hat dann die alte Tür abgeschlossen zusätzlich. Maybe I have. In fact, I think I'm finally starting to understand what's going on here. Wait, you do? Like I said, maybe. In any case, let's head back to the dining hall for now. I'd like to ask a certain someone some more questions. Besides, we need to tell the others about everything we saw here. Wahrscheinlich Runa, ne? Ich bin mir ziemlich sicher, dass Runa sich als Carmen verkleidet hat und die Show da oben abgezogen hat und dann aber durch dasselbe Fenster wieder reingeklettert ist, weil sie kam ja komischerweise plötzlich von oben. Wir haben ja nicht mal kontrolliert, ob sie zum Bathroom gegangen ist. Der heißt ja gar nicht Bathroom. Wie heißt Restroom. Ne? Besides, we need to tell the others about everything we saw here, as well as about Hiro and Carmen. Right! Rie still didn't seem too eager about that. I could understand that she didn't want to tell her best friend that the guy she loved was no longer alive, but there was no helping it. We had to let them know. And then it was finally time to uncover the truth behind tonight's mysterious events. New diary entry has been added. Ja, müssen wir jetzt die ganze Sache aufdecken? When we returned to the dining hall, Taiko, Mika and Runa were standing there, their eyes already fixed on us, though they had been watching the sliding doors the entire time. Their expressions said everything. Rie gulped hard as their gazes met hers. She seemed to realize that trying to draw anything out wasn't going to make it easier. So, after taking a deep breath to calm herself, she walked towards them and began to explain everything. What followed were several long moments of silence. At first, the three of them just gaped at Rie as they tried to process her words. Then they slowly moved their eyes on Bara-chan and me. It didn't look like they wanted to believe what Rie had told them, so they seemed to be hoping we would tell them a different story. Unfortunately, all we could do was quietly shake our heads. As ridiculous as it sounded, it was the truth. Now, not only one, but two of our classmates were dead. Two others were missing, and one of them was a murderer. Even Taiko, who had brought up the whole murder theory himself, seemed like he had a hard time believing any of this. Grinding his teeth and holding his head with one hand, as though he was suffering from a sudden migraine, he clenched the other into a fist, and ich sollte das echt nicht lesen, wenn ich die Nacht durchgemacht habe. Slammed it against the wall in anger. Meanwhile, Mika just stood there, with a helpless look on her face as Runa broke down in tears right next to her. Rie immediately rushed over to her friend and took her into her arms. All while Bara-chan and I could once again do nothing but stand there and watch this miserable scene unfold. It naturally took a while until they managed to calm down, especially Runa needed some time, but with the help of her best friend, the flow of sadness eventually subsided. I'm sorry, Runa. I couldn't bring myself to tell you earlier. Forgive me. It's fine, Miyamoto-san. After meeting you three at the staircase, I kind of had a hunch that something like this had happened. I just cannot believe it. Oder du wusstest ganz genau, dass das passiert ist, weil du dabei warst. Jetzt lüg mal nicht so rum. Why would Eiga-san do such a horrible thing? I wish I knew the answer myself. Weil, so weird es auch klingt, sie war ja in Hiro verknallt, aber sie hatte eventuell dann auch einen Grund, ihn auch zu töten. Ich meine, sie war sauer, dass Hiro Momoko ihr vorgezogen hat, und das hat sie so gekränkt, dass sie halt auch einen Hass auf ihn gekriegt hat. But you're absolutely certain that Hiro is dead. I mean, you said you weren't able to find his corpse when you went back up, so maybe you just imagined the whole thing? Yeah, sure. In that case, all three of us imagined the exact same thing. I have absolutely no idea why the guest room was empty when we checked it again, but I tell you, that's what we saw. And there's no way Hiro could have survived it. I mean, sure, I didn't exactly check for a pulse or anything, but Carmen rammed that knife right into his throat. He definitely died on the spot. The poor guy couldn't even scream. Yeah, wait a second. What had you just said? The poor guy couldn't even scream? Well, weiß sie das? I hadn't even realized it before, but now that she mentioned it... Wait. Was it possible that, dass bereits tot war, als hochkam? Cool. What was that? What was that? Mika could have sworn she heard a weird sound just now. A weird sound? What exactly do you... Before he could finish, Mika pressed a finger against her lips, signaling him to shut up. Also ist doch noch jemand da. Also ich glaube, ich habe gerade was gehört, das klang wie Schritte. The rest of us all fell silent, as well as we strained our ears and listened carefully, trying to make out whatever she had heard. There was nothing, however. Not even the slightest... No, wait. Klopft gerade jemand von unten gegen die Tür im Breaker Room? Ist vielleicht jetzt Kotoba aufgewacht? No, wait. There was something. I could hear a faint, rather distant knocking sound. And not just that. There was something else. It almost sounded like a voice. Yes, a muffled voice yelling something. It's hard to make out, but... Help! Someone's calling for help? But where is it coming from? Aus dem Keller. Taiko immediately got down on all fours. He pressed his ears against the tatami floor and just a moment later jumped back up, his face painted with urgency. Right below us. It's coming from right below us. Isn't that... The breaker room. Genau. So, does it mean someone's been in there all along? Ja, aber es war ihm nicht möglich zu antworten, weil jetzt erst aufgewacht ist scheinbar. That's gotta be Kono-kun. Damn it. We've gotta hurry. Come on. Without wasting any time, Taiko leaped for the sliding doors. He threw them open and bolted into the corridor. The others followed him right behind. Curses. If Kotoba was in danger, every split second was important now. 2 people had already lost their lives. We couldn't risk that number going up any further. We had to get to him ASAP. So I... Boah, was soll ich denn jetzt machen? Followed them without hesitation. Was soll sie denn in der Küche? Ich glaube, da ist nicht... Ich weiß nicht, ob da offen ist, aber wir sind doch wahrscheinlich da durchgegangen mit Rie und sie hat das nicht wieder abgeschlossen, glaube ich. Also würde ich zur Küche gehen, weil das ist der schnellste Weg. Wenn sie jetzt außen rumgehen, wäre das ja dumm. Ja komm, wir gehen zur Küche, ne? Of course! The kitchen! There was a staircase leading to the food storage, which was directly opposite of the breaker room. A shortcut. This was a tremendous shortcut. It was probably too late to stop the others, so I didn't even bother trying. Instead, I headed directly towards the kitchen. It was pretty dark in there, so I had to get out my cell phone again to see something. With its help, it didn't take long to locate the stairs. I hopped down the stairs as fast as I could without slipping. Once at the bottom, it didn't take long to find the door leading to the basement corridor. The breaker room should have been directly behind it. I grabbed the handle, pushed it down and... Warum ist es zu? Locked. Curses. Rie must have locked it again after using it as a shortcut herself earlier. So much for saving time. I had wasted even more. Well, not much I could do now, except turning back and taking the long way. I rushed back upstairs and dashed down the first floor corridor. I used the staircase at its other end to get to the basement. To my surprise, I bumped into Runa upon reaching the bottom. Due to her kimono, she hadn't been able to keep up with the others and had fallen behind. I grabbed her hand and together we kept moving. Thankfully from here it was just a straight line to our goal. Eventually we managed to reach it and catch up with the others, who were already gathered in front of the breaker room. Hätte ich die Loch lieber aufhalten sollen, ne? Kotoba! Kotoba! Can you hear me? Taiko hammered his fist against the door like crazy, but there was no response. In fact, Kotoba's cries for help had ceased completely, just like that weird knocking sound we had heard before. Answer me, goddammit! Why isn't he responding? Do you think? I don't know, but we gotta get inside here. Now. But how? The door's locked and my key still won't fit. Damn it! Enraged, Taiko slammed his fist against the door one more time. We tried again, but it was just as she said. Ja, aber von da drinnen hätte er auch durchs Fenster rausgehen können. Und wenn wir zeitig genug hier gewesen wären, hätten wir das sagen können oder so. Ich weiß ja nicht, was da drin vor sich ging. The key simply didn't fit. So, what were we supposed to do? We couldn't unlock it, and if Kotoba couldn't open it for us either, how were we going to help him? If it wasn't too late for that now anyway. Out of the way. What? What are you planning to do? I give breaking the goddamn door down another try. Are you insane? You already tried that. It won't work. You'll only hurt yourself. Move. Taiko? Without listening to her objections, Taiko pushed Rie aside and signaled us to step back. Once he had enough room, he grabbed the handle, pushed it down, and threw himself against the door with all his strength. Nothing happened, of course. The door didn't even budge. That didn't stop him, though. If anything, it gave him even more determination to open it by force. He took another few steps and hammered his shoulder against the hard metal. Das heißt doch, dass man in so Stresssituationen plötzlich Superkräfte entwickelt oder so. Also, dass durch irgendwelche Hormone, die ausgestoßen werden, man voll die krassen Kräfte entwickeln kann und sowas, weil gibt's da nicht auch irgendwie so Berichte von so einer Mutter oder so, die einfach mal ein Auto angehoben hat, um ihr Kind da drunter wegzuholen? Also so richtig unmenschliche Kräfte eigentlich. But again, nothing happened. Grinding his teeth, he prepared another attempt. However... You are such a stubborn fool! So what? I'm gonna get Kotoba out of there, no matter what. Well, at least let me help then. Might as well break our shoulders together. Na gut, Taiko didn't even bother talking her out of it. He knew Rie was just as stubborn as he was. So this time the two of them stepped back together. Taiko once again grabbed the handle and pushed it down and then began to count. 1, 2, 3. The two of them bashed into the door, hitting it as hard as they could, but... Gar nix, ne? No, wait! It worked! It actually worked! The door was open! It was finally open! Only by a tiny gap, but still. We almost have it! Oh, hier scheint's gebrannt zu haben. Let's give it another shot. War da nicht auch ein Benzinkanister gewesen? Oh, alright. Alright. One more time, the two of them stepped back and threw themselves against that sturdy metal opponent with everything they had. Ja, aber es sieht so aus, als ob da Qualm rauskommt. Ne? Unfortunately, it didn't really do anything this time. The gap got bigger, but not by much. And no matter how many more times they tried after that, it wouldn't move another inch. Well, I guess that's as far as it goes. Damn it. So the door was never locked. It's jammed. Something's blocking it from the other side. But what? And what do we do about it? And do you smell that? Doesn't that kind of smell like gasoline? Yeah. Now that they mentioned it, I noticed it too. Ja, schön, dass du bis jetzt nicht gemerkt hast, dass ihr da mitten im Qualm steht. Das sieht so aus, als hättest du direkt eigentlich schon eine Benzinvergiftung kriegen müssen, so wie es hier aussieht. Aber gut, dass du es jetzt erst merkst. The faint scent of gasoline hung in the air. Das hier, ne? Ich will nur mal sagen, dieses Bild hier sieht nicht nach einem faint scent of gasoline aus. Das sieht nach einem nach viel mehr als einem faint scent aus. It was coming through the small gap from inside the breaker room, together with... Is that smoke? Tamashi-san is right. There is smoke coming from the gap. Indeed it was. A cloud of thin, fog-like smoke began accumulating in front of the door. Still rubbing his shoulder with one hand and using the other to cover his mouth, Taiko stepped closer and tried peeking through the gap into the breaker room. Smoke and the scent of gasoline. That could only mean one thing. Dass Kotoba verbrannt ist? Fire! There's a fire inside.
What? What about Kotoba then? He in there? Can you see him?
Yeah, I think I can. He's not moving though.
No! Is he at least safe from the fire?
He is surrounded by it.
You don't think he...
Damn it. If only the goddamn door would open. Taiko tried forcing the door open again, but to no avail. It was pointless. Whatever was blocking it from the other side just didn't want to give in. Curses. There had to be something we could do. And we had to do it fast. Das heißt jetzt, da ist doch keiner, der irgendwie noch Türen auf- oder zuschließen kann. Aber eventuell ist auch oben eine der Türen einfach von innen blockiert. Aber dann verstehe ich nicht, wie derjenige wieder reingekommen ist. Es sei denn, es gibt da einfach einen Geheimgang oder sowas. Keine Ahnung. Curses, there had to be something we could do and we had to do it fast. It was possible that Kotoba was only unconscious due to the smoke and heat. But if we waited any longer, he... No, I neither wanted to think that far, nor did I have time to do so. We had to find a way to get inside. The door was obviously out of the question, but there was another way. Rie? Yes? Is there a fire extinguisher nearby? Of course. But it won't do us any good as long as we can't get through the door. We don't need to. There's another way. Huh? What do you mean? Das Fenster, ne? The window. Aber das ist zu.
What you talking about? The window's locked. We checked it earlier, remember?
Yeah, she's right. And it can only be opened from the inside. Well, both of them were kinda right, but... Es ist jetzt wahrscheinlich offen. Weil irgendjemand muss ja das Feuer da gelegt haben. Irgendjemand hat das Feuer ja da gelegt. Und notfalls kann man das wahrscheinlich noch einfacher zerstören als die Tür. Das stimmt auch. Vielleicht war das auch wirklich niemals wirklich zu. Ist auch wieder so eine Sache. It's definitely open now, komm. What? What are you saying? It's locked, remember? We checked it before. But not anymore. Huh? Yes, the window had to be open now, weil irgendjemand muss das Feuer gelegt haben. A fire like this didn't break out by itself, but it was unlikely that Kotoba had started it. Given his cries for help, he certainly hadn't planned to burn himself alive. I didn't know the exact reason why he hadn't escaped through the window, but it was probably the same that had prevented him from unblocking the door and escaping through here. Weil er in der Mitte des Feuers stand und umzingelt war vom Feuer quasi, ne? Someone had trapped him in there, and that someone had started the fire. However, considering that the door was still blocked, the only way for that someone to escape would have been the window. And since it would only be locked from the inside, it's open now. But if it is, why didn't Kotoba just escape through there?
Yeah, she's right. You ain't making sense.
You'll understand soon enough. There's no time for explanations now. We need to hurry, wahrscheinlich weil da alles gebrannt hat. She's right. It's not like we can get through this door anyway, so checking the window might at least be worth a shot. Well, if you say so. Let's check out the window then. And don't forget a fire extinguisher. Right. We can get one from the reception. You guys stay here. If we manage to get inside, I'll see what I can do about the door.
Be careful, you two.
We will. Anyway, let's go. Wait, I'm coming too. What? Forget it. That's too dangerous. There's no time to argue. Let's just go. Ach, sie setzt sich durch. He didn't seem happy, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't stop me from simply running after them, and there was no time to try and talk me out of it. Also es gibt andere Spiele, da wäre das schon genug Grund, dass ein Charakter einer Gruppe beitritt. Für den Rest des Spiels. Ne? Da sagt er dann einfach, ja, ihr könnt mich nicht davon abhalten, euch einfach hinterher zu laufen. On the contrary, Kodoba's life was in danger, so we had to get to that window as fast as possible. Macht das denn Sinn? Also der Weg ist ja genau gleich, ne? Wir können den Shortcut von der Food Storage nehmen und dann durch den Back Exit der Dining Hall rausgehen. Ich glaube, das wäre näher, ne? Alright! With that, Taiko, Rie and I began to move while the others stayed behind. We quickly rushed into the food storage. There we used the staircase to the kitchen upstairs. A pretty good shortcut to get to the dining hall in a flash. In this case, that didn't really help us much though. Our destination was the main entrance. Nein! Aww. So whether we went down the basement corridor or used the stairs at its other end, or used the shortcut to the dining hall and headed to the reception from there, didn't make much of a difference. Either way was the exact same distance, a staircase plus an entire hallway. Anyway, once we reached the reception, Rie quickly unlocked it. She grabbed the fire extinguisher from behind the counter and then rushed over to the main gates to unlock them as well. Once they were open, we spilled out into the cold night. The breaker room window was basically on the other side of the building. That meant that we had quite some distance to cover, so we continued running at full speed. I had a hard time keeping up with Rie and Raiko. Unless theirs, my stamina was almost entirely depleted after all the previous running tonight, but that wasn't a reason for me to give up. Especially not when the life of one of my classmates was in danger. Again. So one more time I gave it everything I had. Pushing this fragile body to its limit. There it is. Rie had the fire extinguisher to Taiko, handed the fire extinguisher to Taiko and crouched down in front of the window. She grabbed the metal cover with both hands and slowly tried lifting it up. Und ist es tatsächlich offen? And it worked. The window was unlocked. She could open it. As though it had been desperately waiting for its chance to escape, a thick cloud of black smoke immediately came streaming outside, causing Rie to almost drop to the cover again. She managed to keep it lifted, however, as she shot up to her feet and moved to the side of the window, letting the smoke blow past. Kann sein, dass das Fenster wirklich die ganze Zeit gar nicht zu war, sondern geöffnet werden konnte. Es war nicht abgeschlossen. Taiko and I broke into a series of coughs as it entered our lungs. Covering our mouths and turning our heads away, we quickly backed off until it started to thin out a little due to the cold mountain breeze. While Rie kept holding to the cover, Taiko began moving towards it, carrying the fire extinguisher under one arm, wildly waving around the other. Can you see Kodoba? Can you see Kodoba? Yeah, I can see him. Is he alright? Time to find out. I'm going in. What? Taiko? Wait! Natürlich geht da rein. Wie soll er denn sonst das Feuer löschen? Of course, Rie's attempt to stop him was futile. Taiko had already climbed inside. When I saw that, I didn't just want to stand just here, doing nothing. So, completely ignoring Rie's objectives, I followed him and slipped through the window myself. The first thing I noticed after entering the breaker room was obviously the incredible heat. After having been exposed to the freezing mountain air only a moment ago, this sudden and rather drastic change in temperature made me feel kinda dizzy. The penetrating stench of gasoline didn't help much either. Nor did the fact that the entire room was naturally filled with smoke, making it very hard to breathe. Keeping my mouth covered with my cardigan, I tried taking as few breaths as possible while fighting the urge to cough. A much bigger problem, however, was my limited field of vision. Despite those bright flickering flames, huge parts of the breaker room were still drenched in darkness, all due to the lack of electricity. Fortunately though, the area around the breaker box was safe, and since it was right next to the window, I immediately turned to switch the lights back on. Aber ist das denn so sinnvoll, den Strom wieder anzuschalten, wenn es brennt? Sollte man nicht erst das Feuer löschen und dann das Licht anschalten? Alright, that's that. Good work. That's one problem gone. Now to take care of that fire. The moment those words left his mouth, Taiko stepped forward, holding the hose of the fire extinguisher in his right hand and using the left to hold the pressure vessel at its grip. He immediately got to work. Thankfully, there weren't too many flammable objects around, so the fire hadn't spread too far yet. It was mostly concentrated in the center of the room. As Taiko did his best to contain it and subdue those ravaging flames, I stayed directly behind him, frantically throwing my gaze left and right. The cause for all of this was clear. There was an empty gasoline canister lying below the window. Judging from the burn marks left on the concrete, someone had spilled its contents across the floor, creating trails throughout the room. After getting ignited from the window, those trails had led the fire to the shelves and various other objects scattered about. Das war ja genau das, was ich mir gedacht habe. Vom Fenster aus einfach eine Spur gelegt. All of them covered in gasoline, including Kodoba. Und er brennt und lebt nicht mehr, okay. It was a horrible sight. The fire had long reached his body, setting his clothes ablaze. The gluttonous flames were slowly eating away at his hair and skin, turning it back. It was only now that I also noticed the disgusting smell of burnt human flesh in the air. With just a single glance, I could tell that we were too late. He was already dead. While Taiko began spraying foam all around his friend, trying to stop the fire from devouring him even further, I noticed that one of Kodoba's hands was tied to the copper pipes next to him. Und deswegen konnte er auch nicht einfach weglaufen. Okay. Sieht aber aus, als ob ihm vorher schon mit so einem Rohr eins übergewischt worden wäre, sodass er das Bewusstsein verliert. Und deswegen war er überhaupt wahrscheinlich in der Lage, überhaupt erst. Wenigstens eine positive Sache gibt es an dem Ganzen. Die Spinne ist wahrscheinlich auch mit verbrannt. Ne? Ich frage mich nur, ob wir das hätten verhindern können, dass er stirbt. So, that's why he hadn't been able to escape this place. Someone had tied him up here. Und das Ding ist ja, jetzt sind schon Momoko, Hiro und Kotoba tot. Und ich verstehe einfach nicht, wer hat denn jetzt ein Motiv für Kotoba? Wer hat ein Motiv, Kotoba umzubringen? Das ist die Sache. Vielleicht hat Carmen Kotoba umgebracht, weil Kotoba ja auch was von Momoko wollte? Ich weiß es nicht. So that's why he hadn't been able to escape this place. Someone had tied him up here. And not only that, there was a steel pipe lying on the floor right in front of him. It was covered in blood just like his forehead. In other words, he had been knocked out first. When we had heard him earlier, he must have temporarily regained consciousness and done the only thing he had been able to, crying for help. Kodoba. I couldn't believe it. So we had lost another one of our friends. And in such a horrible way. Just how could anyone have done this to him? Leaving him here like that, to burn alive. Mittlerweile macht's auch nicht mal mehr Sinn, dass es Runa war, weil Runa war ja jetzt auch bei uns, als das hier gerade passiert ist. Taiko must have realized himself that it was too late to save his friend now. Ich verstehe gerade überhaupt nicht, ist Carmen jetzt einfach wirklich die Mörderin und wenn ja, warum? Welche Gründe hatte sie denn jetzt, Momoko zu töten? Also ich sehe überhaupt nicht ich sehe kein Motiv, das Carmen haben könnte. Ich meine, sie hat ja bis jetzt schon, also sie hat mindestens Hiro und Kotoba getötet. Ah. Nevertheless, he kept fighting the fire, trying to eradicate it completely. Damn it, I can't do this alone. We need another fire extinguisher. There should be another one down here. I'm gonna get it and help you. Rie? What the hell are you doing in here? Ja, wir sind jetzt halt alle hier, ne? Wir sitzen alle im selben Boot. You think I'm just gonna wait outside while the two of you risk your lives? Anyways, you focus on the fire. We'll take care of the rest. Raiko-chan? Yes? Come on, help me. We gotta do something about the door. Ja, damit wir hier raus können, falls das Feuer nicht gestoppt werden kann, ne? Right. The door. Now that we were inside the breaker room, I could finally see what was blocking it. The massive closet that had originally been next to the door was now directly in front of it. It was positioned at such an angle that whenever you tried opening the door, it pushed the closet against the copper pipes coming out of the floor. The closet was literally stuck between the pipes and the door, leaving barely any space for the ladder to open. Rie and I quickly rushed over there to take care of that problem. While I grabbed the closet from one side and pulled, Rie pushed it from the other. Ich weiß nicht, ob wir das verhindern hätten können, dass er stirbt, wenn wir nicht erst den Umweg gemacht hätten. Sondern direkt hier runtergegangen wären. Alright, it's unlocked. I'm gonna get the other fire extinguisher and be right back. Okay, Raiko-chan. Now you gotta help me for a sec. Of course. Huh? Without losing another word, Taiko handed me the fire extinguisher and signaled me to continue spraying in the flames in his stead. It was quite heavy and I had no idea what he was up to, but I gave him a resolute nod and did my best to keep the fire in check. In the meantime, he jumped over to Kotoba and tried to remove the ropes, keeping his wrist tied to the copper pipes. It took him a moment, but once he was done, he heaved his friend over his shoulder and quickly carried him over to the door. Once he had put Kotoba on the floor in front of the others, who were standing there watching in shock, he immediately rushed back to my side. Okay, now out with you. What? I suddenly felt Taiko's hand grabbing my hips from behind. Ach ja, die hatten ja die Tür freigeräumt und jetzt konnten Runa und Mika, die auf der anderen Seite stehen lassen, noch sehen, ne? With no effort at all, he lifted me up into the air and carried me over to the entrance. There he put me down again right next to the others. While I was still trying to figure out what had happened, he snagged the fire extinguisher from my hands, spun around and headed back into the room. Just then, Rie came rushing past us, carrying another fire extinguisher under her arm. It took you long enough. Guck mal, da kämpfen sie jetzt Rücken an Rücken gegen das Feuer. If you start complaining again about how unreliable I am, I'm gonna smack ya. Let us just show this fire who's boss. Alright. Completely speechless, the others and I watched as Rie and Taiko were fighting the fire with their combined strength. Back to back, surrounded by bright flames. Despite how dangerous this was, however, Rie didn't seem too concerned. Not about the fire at least. Rie, jetzt sage ich schon ihren Namen, jetzt lese ich ihren Namen schon vor, ne? By the way, I'm sorry about before. What? You know when I yelled at you before you brought up the whole murder thing? It's just that... Come on, Rie. This isn't the time for that. Da hat recht. I know, but... No. There's nothing to apologize for anyway. Huh? Listen, I know you well enough by now to expect that kind of reaction from you. You just want to trust and believe in your friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. On the contrary, that's one of the parts I always liked about you the most. So, you see? No reason to apologize for that. I see. Thanks. Anywho, this is not the right time for this. We can talk about it later. Right now, we need to focus. You know this is dangerous, right? I guess it is. Then why the hell are you laughing? Because you were here with me, so I have nothing to worry about, right? Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely. And you don't have anything to worry about either, because I've got your back. So let's finish this. Right on. Slowly but steadily, the two of them managed to fend off the flames. The fire just didn't stand a chance against the power of their teamwork. Before long, it was gone, and only smoke remained. Even that gradually faded away, however, once Rie had opened the window again. With both the fire and the smoke taken care of, all of us breathed a deep sigh of relief. Of relief, nicht belief. Ich glaube nicht, dass sie jetzt plötzlich gläubig werden. Looks like we did it. Yeah, we did it. Ja, genau wie Dora the Explorer, jetzt seid ihr richtige Helden. The two of them began to smile, as did Mika, Bara-chan, Runa and I when they looked at us. It truly was a moment of happiness, but alas, it was rather short-lived. The grim reality quickly caught up with us again, and our gazes slid down onto the floor in front of the breaker room. Down onto Kodoba. There was no need to check his pulse or anything. He was dead. If I hadn't known that this charred corpse was Kodoba, I wouldn't have been able to recognize him by simply looking at his face. With the skin turned black and shriveled up, it was burned almost beyond recognition. The sight of it, the stench, it made me feel sick. Unable to look at the still steaming body any longer, I lifted my gaze and directed it at Taiko. He was grinding his teeth, despair, sadness and fury all mixed together on his face, distorting it in a way I had never seen before. He fought hard to hold back his tears, but it was useless. Some of them had already escaped from the corners of his eyes, drawing shining lines across his cheeks. First Momoko, then Hiro, and now Kodoba. Why? Ja, das frage ich mich auch. Wo ist das Motiv? Just why did this have to happen? That goddamn fool. Why did he have to leave? Why couldn't he just stay with me? What the hell were you doing down here? You idiot. Taiko. Damn it, I'm the idiot, aren't I? I should have stopped him. I should have followed him. He's been in here all along. I didn't want to believe it, but it was obvious from the start. I should have just kept trying to get him to open the door, or... Come on, stop it! This isn't your fault. You couldn't have known this was gonna happen. None of us could have. And bringing up what-if scenarios is just a pointless blaming yourself. Waren das nicht seine eigenen Worte irgendwann mal? It's not gonna change the facts. Let's see, let's just call for help now, okay? The power's back on, so we can finally make phone calls again.
So, does it mean it's finally over?
No, not yet.
Huh?
Carmen. Carmen's still missing. We need to find her. And then she's gonna pay. Everyone felt dead silent. Carmen. It was true. She was the last member of our group unaccounted for. And considering the circumstances, she was the only one who could have done this to Kodoba. After escaping through the guest room window on the second floor, she must have headed to the waker room window and somehow gotten Kodoba to let her inside. Then she had knocked him out and started the fire. Es sei denn, das Fenster war gar nicht wirklich zu. That seemed to be the only explanation for what had happened here, und Kodoba war schon eine längere Zeit bewusstlos. Weil wir waren ja vorher schon mal hier und da war Kodoba scheinbar auch schon da drin und auch schon bewusstlos. So I guess there was a chance that she was still nearby. Why would she do all of this though? Did she hate Kodoba that much? Or was there another reason? Although I guess there was no point in thinking about that right now. First we had to find her, and then we could hear everything from her herself. The question just was, where exactly was she now?
A coup?
Did everyone hear that just now? Ah, du hast schon wieder was? Huh? Hear what? Rie didn't hear it? Oh, please, not again. Ja, sie hat vorher noch das Feuer als einzige gehört. What are you talking about? I didn't hear a thing. Mika, I swear to God. You better be mistaken or I'm gonna rip your ears off. A coup? Everyone aimed their eyes at Mika. Apparently no one else had heard a thing, so we were all hoping that she was going to tell us she had just imagined it this time. But of course things weren't that simple. Wait, I think I heard something too. And unfortunately, so had I. A scream. A muffled, distant scream. You've gotta be kidding me.
What the heck's going on now? Will we ever get a break?
That had to be Aiga-san. Moment mal, wenn wir jetzt daran denken, wer alles gerade hier ist. Und wer alles schon tot ist. Wenn sie jetzt auch noch stirbt, dann muss ja irgendjemand hier sein, der nicht zu der Party gehörte, oder? But why would she... Ja, warum würde sie jetzt schreien? Why would she scream like that indeed? Ich glaube auch immer noch, sie hat nicht mit uns gesprochen, als wir sie gesehen haben, wie sie Hiro erstochen haben. Ich glaube auch immer noch, dass sie das nicht war. Dass das nicht Carmen war, sondern irgendjemand anderes. Und wenn sie jetzt nämlich auch noch stirbt, dann muss ja, weil alle anderen sind schon tot oder hier jetzt gerade bei uns, dann muss ja noch irgendjemand anderes, der nicht zu unserer gesamten Gruppe gehört, hier sein. I kinda got the feeling that I didn't even want to know the answer. Nevertheless, I took off down the hallway without hesitation. Somehow I knew exactly where I was going to find Carmen. I could hear one of the others following me, but I didn't turn around to see who it was. Instead, I concentrated on mobilizing what little energy I had left in my legs to rush upstairs. It was time to finally put an end to all of this. Wieder hier oder was? When I reached the second floor hallway, it was brightly illuminated, making it quite easy to spot Carmen. She was sitting in the center of the corridor, cowering on all fours right in front of one of the guest rooms. I heard footsteps coming from behind and threw a gaze over my shoulder to see Taiko. We exchanged a quick glance before our attention was drawn to Carmen again. Despair clawed itself deep into her expression, squeezing tears out of her eyes as she hammered her fists onto the floor. Once again, she didn't seem to notice us as we moved towards her. She was too fixated on that accursed guest room. The very same one that had already presented us with so much grief tonight. Also findet sie jetzt erst die Leiche und wusste bis jetzt noch gar nichts davon. Why? Why did things have to turn out like this? Oh, Momo, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She continued muttering to herself, more and more, tears streaming down her cheeks. When Taiko moved up to her, I could see the anger, hate and disdain for Carmen burning in his eyes. Findet sie jetzt erst Momo das erste Mal? However, when he turned his head to see what she was staring so intently at, all of it vanished, instantly getting replaced by pure raw shock. I balled my hands up into fists, bracing myself for whatever was going to await me this time. At this point, nothing should have shocked me anymore. Nevertheless, I found myself wearing the exact same expression as Taiko as I laid eyes upon that horrifying sight. Ja. There they were. Aber zuvor war Momo doch in einem anderen Raum, oder? Ich bin mir gerade nicht sicher. Zuvor waren die nicht im selben Raum. There they were. Ich habe gerade eine Theorie. Kann es sein, dass Carmen eine Persönlichkeitsspaltung hat? Also zwei getrennte Persönlichkeiten, die allerdings keine Erinnerungen an das haben, was die andere Persönlichkeit wahrnimmt. Und ihre andere Persönlichkeit hat Hiro umgebracht, nachdem sie gesehen hat, dass Momoko tot ist. Und jetzt ist aber die andere Persönlichkeit von ihr gerade aktiv und sie sieht jetzt zum ersten Mal, dass Momoko tot ist. There were our two missing corpses, Hiro and Momoko. While Taiko stayed behind to take care of Carmen, I reluctantly moved into the room. Part of me didn't want to, but I was overpowered by the curiosity of another. Wanting to take a closer look, it forced me to go on, until I stood directly in front of their lifeless bodies. Despite having seen them like this before, the sight was just as disturbing as the first time. No, that wasn't quite right. It was even worse, because this time I could see everything perfectly. No obstructions, no veil of darkness. I could see every little disgusting detail. Yeah. I gulped hard and noticed my heartbeat increase as I focused my eyes on Momoko. She was hanging there from the ceiling like a doll, only held by a single string. The expression scarring her face was a testament to the suffering she had endured during her final moments. To the desperate struggle for air as the noose had tightened around her neck, slowly strangling her to death. Her eyes were covered by her hair, but just seeing that wide open mouth with the tongue hanging out was too much. Although it was nothing compared to Hiro. Ja, wow, da ist... Moment. Das Messer fehlt. Haben die das zu irgendeinem Zeitpunkt da rausgezogen, das Messer? Ich glaube gerade eigentlich nicht. Oder? Das steckte da noch drin. Warum ist es jetzt weg? Und da ist einfach nur ein Loch. Similar to Momoko, his expression was frozen into unimaginable pain and anguish. There was so much blood everywhere, soaking his clothes and the tatami mats beneath him. It seeped from countless slit-like wounds, covering his entire body. Ach komm schon, jetzt habe ich aus Versehen auf die rechte Maustaste gedrückt. Covering his entire body almost as though someone had taken a knife and stabbed him over and over again in a mad rage. Speaking of knives, the one that had been buried deeply in his throat was gone, revealing a horrifying mass of torn flesh. It looked like the blade had been twisted around multiple times before finally being removed in order to mutilate the rest of his body. I suddenly noticed a weird feeling inside my stomach. like a ball made of lead had formed inside my abdomen, rolling around, dragging my body down, and threatening to crush my thin legs under its weight. This sight was absolutely nauseating. It made me feel sick to the point where I felt like throwing up. I tried resisting the urge to gag and avert my eyes, but I couldn't. I didn't have the control over my body anymore. My subconscious had taken over and forced me to keep looking, so that this gruesome image would burn itself into my memory for all eternity. Eventually, I did manage to close my eyes and slowly regain my composure. I took another deep breath to calm down and put myself together. There was still something left to do, even though it wasn't going to be easy. I needed to examine this room very carefully, as well as the corpses. Maybe here I would be able to find the remaining pieces of the puzzle required to fully understand what had happened. I needed to know. I wanted to know. And I couldn't wait for the police to arrive. I had to figure the truth out now. This whole tragedy involved my classmates, after all. Yes, it was time to get to the bottom of this. And I wasn't going to rest until I had inspected every suspicious-looking Nook and Cranny. Ich musste gerade auf die Uhr gucken, weil ich dachte, boah, es ist doch bestimmt gerade voll spät, weil ich habe ja, wie gesagt, die Nacht durchgemacht und ich bin voll müde und habe gar kein Zeitgefühl gerade. Und dachte, es ist ja jetzt voll spät oder so, es ist bestimmt schon dunkel draußen, weil ich habe irgendwie gerade meinen Rollladen runter und deswegen sehe ich gerade gar nichts. Und ich gucke auf die Uhr, es ist 12 Uhr mittags. Ja, voll spät, wird Zeit fürs Bett. A new diary entry has been added. Wir können uns jetzt umgucken. Ach, guck mal, hier ist das Messer jetzt. Aber warum? Warum steckt das jetzt hier und nicht in Hiros Kehle? Ich würde sagen, an dieser Stelle machen wir beim nächsten Mal weiter. Bis dann, Leute. Ciao.